What's up, guys? Today we're doing a settings guide for SiegeX for Operation Daybreak 2025 Rainbow Six Siege Year 10 Season 2. And here are my, how my computer runs on the benchmark. I'm set to 1440p, 360 FPS. I don't drop below that. I have it locked at 500, and here's how it runs. I mean, we're gonna go through all the settings that I use to get as many frames as possible. And honestly, with SiegeX, I actually do get more frames than I did on the original build. So let's get to why. All right, now let's talk about general settings really quick. All right, so I have it set to night mode for audio. Going over to graphics, here are things I wouldn't change first. If you want maximum frames, you don't really care what the game looks like. And I'll show you what the game looks like on these settings anyways. So I have on plus boost, and I have everything on low except shadow quality. I have set to medium, because that will help you see the occasional enemy. And ultra performance, I have it set to TAA there because it's on ultra performance. It physically has to. So that's what I have it set to. All right, now let's talk about some of the settings that I would change. I leave everything on low, shadow quality on medium. The things I would change: texture VRAM. You can try to increase it or go to somewhere in the middle to see how it works for you. But I've found putting it on low for me after running a benchmark. I tried running on maximum. I tried to run it on low. I get more frames when I have it set to lower, even though it will use more CPU when it's on low. Okay, so that's that. And then there's also the NVIDIA Deep Learning Super Sampling. I have it set to ultra performance. I've tried every single one with like benchmarking after every single one, and I found the best performance on ultra performance for me. But you can set it to off or auto or whatever you. But whenever I put it to auto, I tend to lose like 60 to 70 FPS, which isn't super bad for like what I have everything set to. But for me, I want as many frames as possible. I can deal with the graphics outside of it. I mean, if you want the game to look nice, you can tweak some of these things, but it may cost you some FPS and competitiveness. So this is what I have. I mean, it's probably not perfect, but this is the best I got for it in terms of maximum FPS potential that I can find. So here's how my game looks. It looks good. I can see everything. It runs smooth. I'm at 450 frames right now, and I'm set to 1440p, 360. So I'm getting more than enough frames. No stutter. Runs really good. The only problem with my settings is yes, I have more frames now than I did on the old build. But one of the things you guys will see like this, you're gonna see some pixelation on things that are kind of not a super important, it's just little background stuff. Or fire, it's kind of pixelated a little bit. And you can change that in your settings if you want, but like I said, I want as many frames as possible without dropping anything. Here's what the fire looks like indoors. You can see how that looks like a pixelated nightmare. Close, it doesn't look that bad. You can tell, but far away, it looks pretty pixelated. But to me, I don't personally care too much about that in terms of graphics. I want the game to look fairly decent while also maximizing my competitive FPS quote unquote advantage. So that is something that I would work on. Here's what the smokes look like. You can see the pixelation slightly on the outside, but honestly, for me, oh yeah, you can see it on that one for sure. So I'm gonna go to the setting that fixes that really quick and show you guys if you guys want to have that enabled. So here's what it looks like when it's not pixelated. My frames are about 100 lower than they were before. I'm still getting sometimes over 360, but sometimes lower. Here's what the fire looks like. That's smoke. Here's the fire. You want to see the pixelation on this? It all looks fine, all looks good, but it does affect my frames. Right now I'm set to 320 FPS, which is under what I have it set to, 360. And one thing that you can do to go around that is instead of going to 1440, I can just go back to 1080, but I like having more pixels on the screen because it means I can see more. But basically the setting I changed was this. I turned the deep learning super sampling off. Normally I have it set to performance, but here I turned it off. So if you don't really want the pixelation, but you still want frames, don't set it to 1440p. Put it on 1080, and then try, having it on and off, and then seeing what you actually want to play with. But like I said, what I'm gonna do is I will set to ultra performance, leave it on that, and that's how I'm going to end up playing. So, all right, that's going to be it for in-game, settings. We're going to go through a couple other things as well, but last point I want to leave Will on is don't be afraid to just play around with it and benchmark and see what works the best for you. Are you someone that wants to have higher graphics at the expense of your frames? And remember, whatever you have your refresh rate set to, is any frames beyond that you're not going to see anyway. So if you're getting like me, 450 to 500 frames, if you have it set to 360, all you're going to see is 360. But if it jumps under, you will see the occasional screen tearing. It won't look as smooth. If you want increased graphics but you can't run at your monitor's refresh rate, it's not bad to lower it, but it will kind of affect your gameplay, because I found that more frames equal cleaner shots, better recoil control, and all those things. So for me, as a competitive player, I want to have as many frames as possible, being able to see everything on the screen without having any tearing. So now let's talk about some of the other things. So to limit your frames, you're going to go to your documents, My Games, Rainbow Six Siege. You're going to pull up your game folder, and you're going to go down to, find it quickly. Okay, FPS limit. I have my FPS limit set to 500, because occasionally it'll go up to 600, 700, which can, it can be like a runaway train and causing you to lose more frames, or, you can limit it to whatever you want. If this is an easy solution to your issues that you might be having, there you go. It's something that you should definitely try. And my monitor is showing at 360. I don't even need to show 500. I have it set to 500 just so I can see when I need to potentially restart my game or something. A big one I didn't think I would need to have to tell people, but it is a thing that a lot of people won't actually pay attention to, is go to your task manager, click your memory, and if you have XMP on, or whatever the AMD equivalent of that is, make sure it's showing the speed of your RAM. So this is for your RAM. Make sure it's actually showing the RAM that you bought it as, the speed that you're getting, because it might be set to default if you don't have XMP enabled. So go make sure. This is a really quick way of just making sure you are getting what you paid for. Another thing you need to check is, I'm on Windows 11, but Windows 10 might look a little bit different. Go to System, Display, Graphics, find your game, make sure it's set to your high performance on each individual one, just because sometimes it might be set to something else depending on your rig. Next, you're gonna go to Power Plan. You're gonna go to Advanced Settings, and it's gonna pull up this window. Make sure you have it set to high performance. Now we're going to go to the actual executable file. We're gonna go to Properties, and I'm going to have Disable Full Screen Optimizations checked, and then run this program as administrative checked, and then I'll apply. Now we're going to the NVIDIA control panel. I can just show you guys this, and you guys can copy it and do what you want. I'm just gonna scroll through it really quick so you can pause at any point so you guys can change yours. There you go. And then you're gonna go to this, and I'll have it set to performance. And that's all I would change on this. Okay, now we're gonna talk about how to clear your shaders, which could help your frames. So I would hit disable. And then I would go on run and type in local app data. So I'll just show that really quick. Local app data. You go here, type in N, just go to NVIDIA, GLC cache, and I will delete everything in here. And then we're gonna go to app data, go to local low, NVIDIA, DX cache, and delete everything in here, which I've already done, and I only play Siege, so there you go. Okay, now we're going to clear up the DirectX shader cache, which I'll go to disk cleanup, click on DirectX shader cache, unclick everything else. So I just want the DirectX, click OK, permanently delete, yes. Delete those files, and then they're gone. Here, I'll pull it up again so you guys can see it. Disk cleanup, run on my C drive. We'll go here. 0 bytes, and then you'll set it to whatever you had it on before, which I'll put my shader cache on 10. So it'll just help clean up your system a little bit, and it will increase your frames just a smidgen, which, you know, could help. Now here's an important one: your startup apps. You can turn things on and off depending on whether you want them on when you start your rig up. So like I have BlueStacks on, which I shouldn't have. You can go through and turn things on that you want. I wouldn't mess with things that you don't fully understand, like Power Automate. I'm not going to touch that. But like things like Steam, I don't necessarily need Steam on every time I turn my rig on. I want to manually do that. Wallpaper off. Yeah, so this is what I would do. A couple more things. I'm going to go to System Display Graphics. Make sure you have advanced graphics settings turned on. And then one more last thing, I'm going to go to Enhanced Point of Precision. This is for those of you that are new to PC or don't know what this setting does. Make sure you have Enhanced Point of Precision turned off, because a lot of times it will be set on automatically. So what that does is, let's say I move 10 centimeters to the right. With Enhanced Point of Precision on, if I move 10 centimeters to the right, depending on how fast I move it, it'll go further. If I do it slowly, won't go as far. With it off, it is the same every time I go to that spot, regardless of how fast I go to it. So that's what I like, because I don't have to worry about how fast I'm swiping to something, because it'll change the speed of it. I highly suggest having that off. All right, guys, that's it today on Siege settings for Siegex for Operation Daybreak. Let me know if this helps you guys, you know, with your rigs, if you got more frames out of it. I know the graphics may not be the best if you want better performance, but, you know, like I said, like if you have plenty of frames to spare, change some of the settings, make your game look a little bit nicer. But at the end of the day, it's a competitive shooter. You want the game to run like it's on glass to make sure that you are not at a massive disadvantage, because most people you're playing against aren't going to have those problems. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. Make sure to subscribe, comment, leave a like down below for more, especially if this helped you. Peace out. Until next time.